So how did he get to marry the head cheerleader there?
That's Myron.
Oh, okay. It wasn't had to do anything with a headlock or a hip throw.
Yes,
You know, we could really get in trouble here, so we're just going to leave it there. Our next honoree, Ed Cannon. Ed came down south after he wrestled in high school in New Jersey. Ed attended Rutgers University and still contributes to the D1 program there. Ed comes in after officiating for over 31 years. Now you talk about giving back to the sport. Now let's give him back to the sport. He's been the head official at state, sectional, and area tournaments. Along the way, he's been named Official of the Year. And I noticed, and I told him out in the hall, that if the wrestling gig ever goes south, he can go to Hollywood and get a job as a stand-in for that guy that plays Sheldon in private practice. Because he looks just like him. Ed Cannon, ladies and gentlemen.
First off, I want to congratulate my fellow inductees. I'm very proud to be in a class group of men to be inducted today. I want to thank the Hall of Fame for the induction honor. It's very humbling, and it's a lifetime dream, and it's very special to me in the culmination of 46 years involved with the sport. There's, like what my other nominee said, there's a lot of people to thank, but I just want to thank a few people. First of all, when I first came down to Atlanta and I was in law school, and I was still wrestling in some open tournaments, and never even thought about being an official. And I was wrestling in a tournament, and a gentleman by the name of Frank Gleason is the reason I'm standing here. Then some kid in the first grade, he comes up to me and he goes, "Who are you? You're not from these parts." And I said, "I'm from South Jersey, 30 miles west of Atlantic City, right below the Mason-Dixon line." But anyway, he says, "You just been the state champ." Now this is back in 1974, 5. I said, "Well, wrestling's not very good down here now, is it?" But I've been able to have the joy of watching the sport of wrestling grow tremendously in this state to the quality where there are national caliber wrestlers coming out of our state. I want to thank my dad, who has passed away 6 years. Great influence in my life. I want to thank my wife, Nancy, and most of all, the reason I'm standing here, a lifetime of love and support from a person, my mom, a Holocaust survivor, who's seen more than I can ever imagine. And she has supported me my entire life and anything I did. And I want to thank you, Mom. Mom, stand up, please. You know you've been in this sport a long time. When this year, and of course I'm the token referee being inducted, we all know how we love the referees. But this year, one of the first matches of the season, finished refereeing a kid, and he comes up to me and he goes, "You're not going to believe this." And I said, "I know. I officiated your dad." He goes, "No, my grandpa." I really can't remember a time in my life where wrestling hasn't been a big part. My brother, who couldn't be here because he's out of the country, was a star basketball player. Yeah, I know, I'm pretty challenged. But, and I'd always aspired to follow in his footsteps, but when you're 5'2", 90 pounds, that's not going to happen. And anyway, I went out for wrestling, And my first high school coach, Jim Phoebe, saw something in me that I'll never know, but took a special liking to me and worked with me and made me the wrestler I had become. Came to schools as a sophomore, wrestled varsity, became the school's third undefeated wrestler, and then transferred to high schools. I always never forgave my mom for that one. I didn't want to leave. But, and then won my first district title at Vineland High School. And my coach, who's deceased at Vineland High School, you know, he used to say something with a real heavy accent, and he just said, you got to have the burning desire. And to be a part of this sport as a wrestler, and even the coaches, we all know what it takes. You know, he said, you've got to have the intestinal fortitude to participate. It's not just the workouts every day. It's not just the wrestling. It's taking home the diet, you know, the cutting of the weight. And I know all the parents out there don't want to hear about that. But it's just a very special thing, and it gets in your blood, and it never leaves. It's always been fun to referee, and I've always had people come up to me and say, is there any particular match? Well, I was fortunate enough to probably participate in what was probably the Hall of Fame match. It was PBS's Wrestling Match of the Year, and it involved all Hall of Famers, as it turns out, including Coach Bailey. His heavyweight was wrestling the Collins Hill boy, and we came down to a one-point match, and there was a quick move for a takedown, signal 2, and then I go to my assistant, who I know will be a former, a Hall of Famer someday too, Brad Lowe. I go, Brad, do you think you got it? He says, I don't know. I don't think so. I go, oh, great. We're on national, Georgia TV here and everything, and they're doing replays, which I didn't even realize. I should have turned around and watched, and it happened with like 4 or 5 seconds left in the match. So anyway, we kept going back and forth, and Gordon Pritz, another fellow Hall of Famer, was doing the color commentary for PBS. And poor Gordon's trying to help me out, saying, oh, I understand why you made that call. Then we changed it. Oh, I understand why you made that call. And then it's like, and I see under his breath, will you make up your mind, man? I'm trying to anyway, we end up giving the kid the takedown, which gave him a 1-point lead with 5 seconds left. And Jim Bailey came up to me and he goes, you're taking my kid's state title away. And I go, Jim, there's 5 seconds left. Get him, tell him to get out. He escaped with 1 second to send it into overtime. And Gordon, God bless him, who's doing the color commentary, goes, as I watched the replay later on, somebody got the monkey off their back. And I knew who he was referring to. And Jim's kid, as it turned out, became the heavyweight state champion that year. So it was a great experience. I'd like to also talk about, people saying, well, are there any regrets or anything like that? And I said, somebody said, have you ever tossed a coach? Well, believe it or not, in 35 years of refereeing, probably 1,000 or so unsportsmanlike, but I only threw out one coach in my entire career. And I was asked, do you have any regrets about that? And I thought for a second, and I said, I waited too long to throw them out. Sorry, Ed, I love you. And then they said, many of you may or may not know I'm a personal injury attorney, and Gordon used to do the color commentary for all the state champions year after year, and he would get out there and he would say stuff like, well, here are the 2 wrestlers, and officiating today is Ed Cantor. And so somebody said, well, what's the disappointment? I said, just once, Gordon, 770, 952. I want to thank all the coaches, though, that I've had to deal with, the many officials, the many great wrestlers that I've had the opportunity to officiate. I try to do the best I can and hope that I've made the right call. It's the best seat in the house. My mother asked me, why are you still doing this, for crying out loud? And I go, I love the sport, and I've got the best seat in the house, and sometimes I can make a decision that makes the difference. Hopefully the right decision. I love wrestling. It's been a part of my life, all my life now, since I've been the age of 14, and I hope everybody out here continues to love the sport as much as we all do here. Thank you very much.